think you can fool with Mother Nature.
Why flood insurance may soon become mandatory for some homeowners.
Identifying new 500 and 100-year floodplain neighborhoods.
The search for a missing orca calf may have a sad ending.
Their food source is not what it once was.
The cotton harvest is just about here in North Texas, but farmers say they still need one thing.
Been a lot tougher year, but hopefully we got better cotton.
Plus the new types of ticks discovered in one part of the country.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. More rain and wind are expected in the Pacific Northwest today as a storm batters a large area from California to Washington state. The latest storm comes on the heels of another system that brought heavy rain, flooding and damaging winds to multiple cities. It's also helping to stir up the ocean at a time when coastal communities were already bracing for king tides. We have two reports this morning, starting with Susan Pham.
The rain, the wind, and the rising water made for some wild weather in parts of the Bay Area.
It was quite a storm for a little while.
In Mill Valley, streets were closed off.
It's often commonly flooding over there.
It's the tide, the king tides. You know, the big moon means big tides.
At Tamalpais High School, we encountered a couple students scrambling to pull their cars out because of the rising tide water.
It's just been going up and up.
Boston Nahigian went barefoot because there was so much water.
It was probably about a foot, maybe a foot and a half. Yeah, I had to pull up my jeans and it got up to about halfway up my shin, right about to there.
Nahigian got his car out in the nick of time.
My friends were saying it got about as close to the exhaust as it could get without going in.
Heavy rain and slick road conditions often mean fender benders. In Novato, police say this SUV driver hydroplaned off the freeway down a ravine. Earlier Wednesday morning, a wet waterfront in San Francisco. Powerful waves slamming into the sidewalk here along the Embarcadero. In downtown San Francisco, umbrellas were getting a lot of love as people headed on their way to and from the office. The rain tapered off, giving way to gusty conditions. Strong winds swept away the leaves. For some folks and their four-legged friends, it was a chance to enjoy a brisk walk. Back to Mill Valley in the Tam Junction area, much of the tidewater receded. What started as atmospheric river conditions has tapered off, but many Bay Area residents take it all in stride.
I don't fool with Mother Nature, so I don't think it's on anything.
These are the conditions here at Cannon Beach on Wednesday. Winds up to 60 miles per hour. And lots of rain, with the king tides also rolling in. So were the spectators wanting to get a look at it.
Our advice for the public is to stay off the beach, never turn your back to the ocean, and keep your eyes on the ocean.
Koa Liu with Cannon Beach Fire says his department has already had to make some rescues.
We're just having our lifeguards at the beach, letting people know, hey, king tides are going on, stay off the beach, watch out for sneaker waves, stay high up on the sand dunes, and stay out of the waves.
And throughout the day, there's been breaks in the rain and a view you just can't beat. A private beach with no one on it to watch the king tides roll in. All afternoon, officials have been making their rounds along the beach, making sure people know the risks before they step foot on the beach, as the king tides are only here through Friday. Your next chance to see them is in December.
And it'll soon be time to get out those winter coats if you haven't already. A cold front is moving into parts of the U.S. this weekend, which will deliver a blast of Arctic air typically not felt until December. The front will start near the North Pole and head into the northern U.S. before it spreads further south and east. By Sunday night, most areas east of the Rockies could see temperatures drop to 10 to 15 degrees below normal. Some areas may also see snow. The death toll is rising here in the Philippines after a massive typhoon struck the nation earlier this week. At least 117 people are known to have died after the storm caused catastrophic flooding. It has now moved east, where it made landfall in Vietnam a short time ago. And while search and rescue teams are still looking for survivors in the Philippines, a second tropical cyclone is expected to hit the nation early next week. Well, 40 years ago this week, a West Virginia community was ravaged by one of the state's most destructive and deadly floods. Bob Aaron was there in 1985 when nearly 50 lives were lost. He looks back at that devastating flood.
Heavy rain, small stream, and river flooding November 4th and 5th, 1985 proved a deadly combination that took nearly 50 lives in West Virginia. Pendleton and Grant counties were especially hard hit, but the impact reached through the watersheds of the Potomac, Little Kanawha, West Fork, Tigard Valley, Cheat, Greenbrier, and Monongahela rivers. Bob Rokiski's family gas station in Clarksburg had just been rebuilt.
They had just built a brand new facility for us, updated everything, and our facility was about 5 days old, and it started raining, and the next day we were 3 foot underwater.
I was in Weston as it flooded from a rain-swollen West Fork River.
The town was underwater. I mean, people had significant damage to their homes, businesses lost everything, and it was really difficult for them to get back into business, to be honest with you.
The Stonewall Jackson Dam was still under construction back in 1985 when the flooding hit, but it still helped ease its impact in Weston and Clarksburg. Further east in the mountains, there weren't any speed bumps to deadly flooding. The flooding claimed 47 lives and damaged thousands of homes, with places like Parsons hard hit. More than 2 million turkeys and chickens perished. Up to 8 inches of water in half a day or less was a deadly combination in the steep mountain valleys. Many of the state's rivers came up quick. Some reached new record crests. 29 counties qualified as federal disaster areas.
Well, changes could be in store for the wallets of some Tennessee homeowners. Updated FEMA flood maps now mean flood insurance could soon be mandatory. Ray Galato reports.
This new FEMA flood map now shows updated floodplains, identifying new 500 and 100-year floodplain neighborhoods. I showed the new maps to residents like Therese Green, whose home falls in the expanded 500-year floodplain neighborhood.
Yeah, we need flood insurance.
This is one of the neighborhoods that the new FEMA map shows are now in the 500-year floodplain. City official says that means these residents will now be required to pay flood insurance. According to Flood Price, flood insurance costs Chattanooga's an average of nearly $2,000 per policy. Ken Marston, with the city's Office of Land Development, told City Council the city has to approve these new maps so that residents can save on that insurance.
Those policies are offered at a lower rate or a discounted rate than private insurance companies. So the importance of us maintaining our status as active is highly beneficial and highly crucial for residences.
And time to go across the nation and check weather in several cities. And we start along the Gulf Coast, where a dense fog advisory is in effect from South Texas to the Florida Panhandle. This is Beaumont, Texas, where the fog will give way to a pretty nice day with highs in the upper 70s. Now next, we head to western Wyoming, where there is a winter weather advisory in effect through early afternoon. Up to 8 inches of snow is expected in the mountains today, with even more tomorrow. Winds could gust to 40 miles per hour, with temperatures not expected to get much higher than freezing. Next up is Dayton, Ohio, which is named after Jonathan Dayton, a signer of the Declaration of Independence from New Jersey. It's also the so-called birthplace of aviation, because that's where the Wright brothers developed their first plane. The city should expect a nice fall day today with sunny skies and highs in the upper 50s. And speaking of New Jersey, here's a look at Atlantic City. It was first developed as a resort town in the mid-1850s, and in 1978 became the home of the first legal casino in the eastern U.S. Much like Dayton, it should be a pretty nice day with highs in the upper 50s, but be careful of the water, as it's just around 56 degrees. And here's a time lapse from a camera at the top of Mount Hood in Oregon. You can see the clouds high in the sky, as well as those just below the mountain. Mount Hood is an active volcano with an elevation of more than 11,000 feet, making it the highest peak in Oregon. Its last known eruption was in the mid-1800s. The mountain is also home to 5 separate ski areas. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, the cotton season is almost over in the Texas Panhandle. We'll look at how the weather could delay the start of this year's harvest, and we'll help you better understand how frost forms in your front yard.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Last night's rain has shifted offshore early this morning. The mountains are still seeing a little bit of snow, but the big weather story today will probably be the wind. Most areas will enjoy a fair amount of sunshine, with temps running in the 40s to near 50 degrees, but a stiff northwest wind will gust 30 to 40 miles per hour. As we go into Friday, our next weather maker is approaching. Clouds will start to increase. We're introducing rain in western New York in the morning. Most of the wet weather moves into New England late in the day and into Friday night.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region after a strong front moved through. High pressure settling back in for just a day or two. And then we've got another front coming through late Friday to bring some showers to the region. But we will be talking about, again, dry weather for your Thursday. Cooler temperatures, 50s for highs, except for the mountains in the 40s. Will be a little more mild as we head into your Friday afternoon, back to the 60s.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. High pressure will start breaking down as we head through the end of the week. This will allow moisture to move into central and south Florida with a chance for showers through the start of the weekend. Dry conditions for the Carolinas, then our next cold front boundary develops off to the west. This will bring in much cooler air as we look ahead towards early next week. Ahead of that, though, still more mild conditions heading into Thursday afternoon with highs in the 70s and low 80s.
This is Greg Boswick, the Chief Meteorologist for KFDM Fox 4 in Beaumont, Texas, for the National Weather Desk.
An orca calf first spotted by researchers in Washington's Puget Sound less than 2 months ago has apparently vanished. That's according to the Center for Whale Research. Meteorologist Stella Sun brings us more on the status of the orca calf named J64.
Even on a gloomy day,
it's the Great Northwest.
Swimming somewhere in the waters of the Puget Sound,
it gives you goosebumps.
Southern resident killer whales are searching for food.
Shut off all engines and looked out the other side, and I saw fin after fin after fin. I think it was the J pod I was seeing. So I saw probably, what do you say, honey, 30 whales? So it's about 30 whales.
In its most recent encounter with the Orca J pod near Swanson Channel, the Center for Whale Research says they were eager to check on J64, an orca calf first spotted on September 18th. After observing the mother for several long dives, researchers did not see the calf. Based on this encounter, experts confirming J64 is most likely dead.
It's due to the salmon population, really. I think we're getting overfished.
Orca researchers say the declining Chinook salmon population, the main food source for orcas, is likely the top threat to these creatures.
It's really sad, and I always think a lot of what's happening is around pollution and climate change.
Researchers believe man-made chemicals polluting the ocean waters and noise from vessels, such as tanker traffic noise, can affect an orca's echo, impacting its ability to find food.
Their food source is not what it once was when they were plentiful.
The Center for Whale Research says as of July 1st, there are 74 southern resident killer whales, down from its peak in 1995 when there were 98 killer whales.
That's terrible.
Tick bites, they spread disease, and some bad news for eastern Iowa. 2 types of ticks have been found in that region. It has researchers sounding the alarm after students made an unexpected discovery in the field. Meteorologist Grayson Frondick reports.
I looked down at my hand and I see this tick that's on my hand, and I was like, that doesn't look similar to any other tick I've ever seen before. And I looked it up and saw that it was a male Lone Star tick.
Lone Star ticks are typically found in the southern half of the state, but this marks the first sighting in Dubuque County in decades. Not long after, a student intern in the field with Manning spotted this tick that also looked unusual.
And we decided later that it was a Gulf Coast tick, which we had no idea could even be in this area. We'd never even seen it before. I didn't even know what the species was until we started doing some research.
By the end of the summer, 2 Lone Star ticks and 3 Gulf Coast ticks were discovered at Walter Woods and Prairies.
So we let the Iowa Department of Public Health know, right, so that they can report kind of where things are located, and then from there that can go to the CDC.
6 ticks of the same species must be found in order to be considered established in an area, but their presence alone has researchers paying close attention.
As a scientist, it's kind of exciting just because now we get to kind of see why are they here and what's going to happen.
Both species can transmit disease-causing pathogens. The Lone Star tick in particular is linked to alpha-gal syndrome, which can trigger a red meat allergy.
In the Texas Panhandle, cotton farmers are gearing up to harvest dryland cotton, but they say they need one more chilly day before they start the dryland harvest. Drew Powell reports.
450 minutes below freezing last week was just enough of a start for select cotton producers on the high plains to get harvest underway.
Yeah, we had sprayed some cotton already prior to it, prepped it, as they say, and start opening the bolls and defoliating it so it gets it in the process of ready to harvest faster.
With the rains, I believe this cotton crop's a lot better than we even imagined. We've already seen some two-bale dryland cotton. I think the grades are excellent right now. We haven't seen any downside to it.
Cotton season's a really fun time. Our cotton producers are always gung-ho, ready to go. They love to get the cotton out of the field and into the gin. They love to see how they've put in all of the work throughout the year.
Getting in excess of 26 inches of rain during the 2025 growing season for the cotton crop improved the outlook for profits. However, what dampens the outlook is the fact that the price of cotton right now is down considerably.
Well, the cotton market is actually at about 66 cents on the December market. And we trade on December and March.
It's just been a lot tougher year, but hopefully we got better cotton, so we'll be making more and more cotton and more money.
Many cotton producers are spraying their crop, and what they need to begin harvest is another sustained freeze before they put their cotton strippers on the land and get the cotton out of the ground.
While Texas farmers are ready to harvest their crops, those of us with backyard gardens are getting ready for frost season. It's the time of the year when we start to see morning frost, but do you know exactly how it forms? Meteorologist Violet Skybor explains.
So let's say our observed thermometer, which is above ground about 5 feet, sits at 36 degrees. So when you get closer to the surface, colder air usually tends to sink. The ground temperature will probably be closer to freezing, around 32 degrees, even with a warmer air temperature. But either way, temperatures need to be close to freezing in order to see frost. And we also have to have some moisture in the air as well. So with that moisture, the water molecules that are in the air, as they sink with that colder air and touch a frozen surface, which again, we need the ground to be close to freezing, that water freezes over to ice, forming ice crystals, which is that frost that you can see. And also some other favorable conditions to see frost is clear skies, light winds in order to allow those water molecules to settle down on those colder surfaces. Moisture in the air, there needs to be enough of it. Temperatures in the 30s and moisture on the ground as well. So some fun facts you can pass along to your family and friends.
Well, sometimes clouds hang over the southern Appalachian Mountains during the Appalachians during the fall and winter. Meteorologist Kit Alexander explains why.
Have you ever noticed how in the wintertime clouds just don't seem to want to budge over the mountains? Well, this is something I like to call the Appalachian cloud lock. And here's what's going on. After a cold front moves through, chilly northwesterly winds sweep in, carrying a shallow layer of moist air near the surface. As that air hits the mountains, friction and terrain slow it down and trap it into place, almost kind of like locking in the clouds, so to speak. Meanwhile, a temperature inversion sets up a few thousand feet above the ground, sort of like putting a lid on a pot. That moist air underneath the lid can't mix out, so it condenses into a thick layer of low stratus clouds. On the windward slopes and in the valleys, the clouds can linger for hours, sometimes even days. While areas east of the Blue Ridge, like the Piedmont, at the same time, are enjoying clear skies thanks to downsloping, warming, and drying. Eventually, when the winds shift or drier air mixes down, the inversion will break and clouds finally will start to clear out.
And time now for a short break, but first we take in the views of Olympic National Park in Washington State.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Some 50s to the north, 60s for most of us, and a couple of 70s there to the south today. Pretty quiet, but we got rain moving in for the day tomorrow with a strong cold front on its way. Tomorrow, temperatures still stay pretty comfortable for most of us. Bismarck's cold, 39. And look at this. It gets even colder with some light wintry mix for parts of the Midwest as we head into your Saturday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Downright chilly this morning from Amarillo all the way down to Midland into the 40s. Everybody else into the 50s and 60s. Some light fog showing up right up along the Texas coast. Throughout the day today, we'll watch the system move more north and south, and it will be a really nice day overall with high pressure still in control. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hey there, everybody, and a good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. While things are pretty quiet along the California coastline and back into the Four Corners, all eyes for travel today across the country on the PNW because it is a big storm coming in again. We had a really rough Wednesday with heavy rain from Bellingham into Medford. More of the same today, high surf at the coastline, gusty winds, and the chance for some coastal flooding. And that's the scene from here.
I'm meteorologist Nick Maruziak from Dayton 24/7 now in Ohio. You're watching the National Weather Desk.
A La Nina winter means some areas are expected to see above average snowfall this winter, but that isn't all bad news. Meteorologist David Holtman explains why the La Nina winter could be good news for people in Iowa.
During a typical year, trade winds blow from South America out into the Pacific, moving warm water away from the coast and replacing the area with slightly cooler water. This year, we have stronger trade winds pushing out the more warm water and replacing the area with much cooler water. The phenomenon is known as La Nina, and that colder water pushes the ocean jet stream to the north, giving us a large moisture supply to work with this winter. It also pushes a blocking high north, which forces the Arctic jet stream to dive down towards our area. That combination means we expect a winter that's slightly colder, slightly wetter compared to normal. That has some advantages. More snow on the ground could help insulate the year-round crops like miscanthus grass, garlic, and rhubarb from the cold felt this winter. On top of that, the colder air will limit certain pests and diseases in our area to start next year.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.